Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend our 2024 Ontario Demand Response Customer Readiness webinar. My name is Allison Miller. I'm a manager here at NLX, and I manage our Ontario DR portfolio. I've been here for the past 3 years and manage our relationship with the Independent Electricity System Operator, or the ISO, who you might hear us refer to throughout this presentation, and that is just the market operator here in Ontario. I'm also joined today by Zach Colleran.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zach, and I'm the Customer Success Manager for the province of Ontario here at Enel. I've been working with Enel for the past 3 years and make sure our portfolio of customers have everything they need to be successful in demand response. Quickly, just want to give you guys a sense of what we'll be covering today by walking through the agenda. First, to start the discussion, we're going to do a brief overview of why demand response exists as a whole. Next, we're going to dig into the program specifics for the ISO demand response auction program. And then lastly, we'll review some key changes ahead of the start of the summer season, which begins on May 1st of this year. Before we kick into that, though, I just want to provide an overview of the work Enel is doing in North America outside of demand response, or DR. In 2021, Enel announced plans to invest $190 billion in direct investments by 2030 to accelerate our carbon neutrality goal by 2040, which is one of the most progressive target dates by any company in the energy space. In the renewable energy space in particular, we're the largest private generator of renewable power in the world. Within demand response itself, we are the largest aggregator in the world with 8 gigawatts and counting of demand response capacity and over 4,500 customers. We're continuing to grow and expand the programs we can offer to our customers within and outside of DR. And that's a good transition into discussing demand response itself, a tool that's really at the forefront of the evolution of the energy sector. For anyone in this call not familiar with DR, the product has been around for over a decade now and is pioneering flexibility solutions in the energy world. During times of extreme emergency, whether being caused by weather, price fluctuations, or unexpected system issues, grid operators will pay facilities to curtail electricity for demand response events. It's more efficient for grid operators to pay these large users of electricity, like yourselves, to use less energy than for them to construct a peaking power plant, which would sit idle for 364 days of the year and just turn on for a few hours for a yearly emergency event. Because these demand response events align with real system-wide strain, curtailing not only gives organizations a chance to earn money through the events, but large pieces of equipment are also being protected from brownouts or voltage constraints if the system-wide strain continues to escalate. In the absence of these real-time emergency events, the ISO will audit your facility to ensure that if an emergency event were to be called, your facility would still be able to curtail and provide a reliable resource to the grid. Your performance during these audits or test events establishes your capacity payment for the entire program season, so it's critical that when they're called and you receive your day-ahead standby notice, you are prepared and you treat it like it's a real emergency event. By curtailing electricity in DR events, customers do more than just earn payments. They're actually strengthening the grid and increasing sustainability while improving their own operational reliability. Look at this chart right here and you can see how much the highest energy demand on a given day uses from the available energy capacity on the grid. Those 2 orange days you see here in the summer show demand nearly exceeding 100% of supply. Those are in the so-called danger zone, as we like to call it. But looking at the year, you can see how rarely days cross that dangerous threshold otherwise. That's why demand response is so helpful. More than 10% of grid infrastructure costs are spent to meet that peak demand, which actually occurs less than 1% of the time. And these peaker power plants that I mentioned are really only active during those times to meet those grid peaks and are incredibly carbon intensive. By using the load flexibility from DR, you can help the grid decrease emissions and become more reliability for yourself and your local community. And not only helping your community and yourselves, you're actually supporting the entire Ontario grid, just like Enel has been doing through its participation in demand response for nearly 15 years now. We're doing this through strong regulatory affairs presence in order to get the best results for you, our customers, and also fighting hard to keep the grid as reliable as possible. We have built a portfolio of more than 230 customers throughout the region that are participating to help the grid in these times of need. Together, through your collective action, we are able to create this more resilient, sustainable grid. And to do so, we have internal tools here at Enel at your disposal to help manage it all. Starts here with monitoring your season enrollment and facility contact information, which is crucial to ensure your facility is ready for demand response events. So to do this, you can log into the Enel portal and navigate to the My Account feature to confirm all your information is accurate. You can do this either by clicking the link directly sent in the enrollment email, which you will see shortly from here in the spring, or navigating directly through the online platform like you see here. You want to go to this My Account section as you see on the screen and gain access. Once you've gained access, you want to confirm 3 things through the My Account section. First and foremost is confirming your enrollment KW. This is what your site will be expected to perform at during a dispatch. Next, it's imperative to have updated contacts so that we can reach the right people on activation and dispatch days. And lastly, it's important to review your energy reduction plan so you're confident on the strategy your facility will use should a test or emergency activation occur. One of these events, test or emergency, is called. Metering and data visibility can be a key component to many customers, both for participating in DR as well as the additional benefits provided to your facility. The key benefits of having an Enel meter at your site are inclusive but not limited to the following. First being, you can view real-time data at any time, regardless of a dispatch going on. This can help for you to understand how and when you're using electricity and how to better optimize that use. Next, when a dispatch does occur, you will have the visibility into where you are currently running it and how your curtailment plan is working in order to meet your reduction goals. Finally, having the insight into how you're performing can better assist with meeting your goals to maximize your performance potential and how to refine your energy reduction plans for further success in the DR program. If this metering is something of interest to you, we do currently have 2 options to meet your needs. One is the self-install option at a lower monthly cost that allows you to easily install on your own and maintain as needed. Or we have a turnkey service where we send an approved provider to install and maintain the metering at your site. This metering is not a required service to participate in DR, but can be a very valuable tool for your participation and everyday use. In terms of monitoring your load during a dispatch, we highly recommend that you log into the Enel application and go to the active dispatches section in order to monitor your energy profile as you begin to reduce your load. Using active dispatches will help you track your performance, your baseline, and any baseline day of adjustments, and your demand while also accessing your site's energy reduction plan and your site contacts. Last but not least, I just want to key on this one important feature in the platform as well. Another added benefit, should you so choose, in the payment section of the application, if you are a permissioned financial user, you'll be able to access information from earnings over the years to see exactly how much financial benefit demand response has been for your business. In addition, you can add filters and export data for further analysis, or if you want to share internally, you can do that as well. We also provide easy access to the latest financial statement via PDF. I do want to note here though, payments will not be finalized in the platform for any kind of event until performance is finalized on our side with the IESO. We'll always keep you posted as soon as we have finalized data, and you should receive an email from our energy markets team. And now I will pass it over to our program manager, Allison, to talk through the specifics of the DR auction program, as well as key changes coming down the pipe for the 2024 season. Over to you, Allison.
Great, thank you, Zach. I just wanted to dive in and kind of set the stage here by reviewing some of the core program rules. So the demand response program has 2 main program seasons, and we are quickly approaching the summer season, which will begin May 1st and will wrap up at the end of October. In the middle box here, you'll notice that there are some hours of availability indicated. And these are the hours in which your site is expected to be available to curtail if a dispatch were to be called. So for the summer season, these hours are 12 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard or 1 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And speaking of the dispatch window, if you do receive a dispatch, you will get a minimum of 2 hours advance notice for when those dispatches come in. And responding to dispatches is critically important because your payment for the season is actually based off of your performance across any curtailment events during that time. One thing I wanted to dive into a little bit more is a new program rule that's coming up this year. So we have a new capacity test, which I will talk through shortly, that will begin in the summer 2024 season. Next. So this capacity test, as I mentioned, will be kicking off starting May 1st. This test will last 4 hours and will occur only one time per program season. But before we get into what you can expect operationally with this test, I just wanted to touch on why this test has been added. So the ISO implemented this new capacity test just to ensure that all resources in the program can prove that they can perform at their full capability. So this means that if the ISO pays a resource for 5 megawatts of curtailment, they want that resource to prove that they can in fact curtail that full 5 megawatts during this test. This both ensures reliability of the resource, so when the ISO does dispatch, say, an emergency event, they know that they will get that full performance, as well as it helps the ISO know that they are only paying for the true capacity of a resource. So because of these two factors, this test is critically important. If the ISO sees that a demand response resource is not performing to its full enrollment, then it could limit that future participation in the program for that resource type. So again, just emphasizing the importance of demonstrating 100% performance during these tests. However, there are some key differences that really set you up for success with this capacity test. One of the differences is the really long advance notice that will be provided, and Enel's ability to select the exact test time. So in our traditional audits that you might be familiar with, the ISO actually chooses the time that the audit will happen. But for this capacity test, we are given a 5-day testing window, and within that window, NLX will be able to choose the exact date and time so that we can ensure we're maximizing your performance by picking the optimal time. This ample advance notice will also give you plenty of time to prepare for the dispatch. So just walking through what you can expect, looking at the timeline here at the bottom. So 2 weeks ahead of that 5-day testing window, you will get a notice when that is scheduled. So the ISO will release that, and we will inform everyone at your site that this test will be occurring, in the following 2 weeks. And during that 2-week period, it gives you plenty of time to review your energy reduction plan, check your equipment on site, make sure your generators are working if you have a generator, and also just prepare your staff and prepare for that curtailment event that will be happening in that 5-day window. NLX will also send out a survey just to ensure that there's no outages planned or if any unexpected issues have come up at your site that might prevent you from curtailing during any of the time within that 5-day testing window. Once the testing window opens, you can be assured that you'll receive a minimum of a day ahead notice of the exact date and time of that test. And then, of course, you'll receive an activation on the day of when that test occurs. With the addition of this capacity test, there are now 3 types of dispatches that you can be called for during the program season. So the first, as we just discussed, with this new capacity test. These tests will happen during the first 2 months of the program period, so you can expect to see this in either May or June for the summer season, or November or December for the winter season. And the second type of activation is an audit. So if you've been participating in the program in the past, you're probably very familiar with this type. This is triggered by the ISO at their discretion and can happen up to 2 times per program period. So you'll receive a day ahead standby notice that the test is happening on the audit is happening on the following day, and a 2-hour advance notice for when that dispatch starts day of. These audits will last 4 hours unless otherwise stated in the dispatch instruction, so be sure to pay close attention to that instruction. And the final type of activation is an emergency activation. So these are dispatches that are triggered by an actual need on the grid when it is stressed, and that's typically due to extreme weather or generator outages. And for emergencies, you'll only receive day of notifications, and events will last between 1 and 4 hours, depending on the province's need and the severity of the stress on the grid. Performance across all of these events will impact your earning for that program season, so it's really critical to respond to all of these events. And then for the emergency events, your participation will actually impact grid stability as well. So it's critically important in those emergency activations. So these are some examples of communications that you'll receive for the test, audit, and emergency notifications. So these, for the test, the capacity test and the audit, you'll receive a day ahead standby notice. And this is just indicating that the following day you can expect to be dispatched. You'll receive this notification via email, phone call, and text message. And you will be required just to acknowledge and confirm that you received the message, so we know that you're aware that there's an event the following day. For the emergency events, notifications look a little bit different. So NLX is consistently monitoring grid conditions, weather conditions, outages on the grid to see when the conditions might warrant an elevated alert or a high alert, indicating that an emergency event is more likely. So we will issue this, either day ahead or day of, whenever we determine that this elevated conditions exist. And that will be an email only notice. Again, it's just giving a heads up. It does not guarantee that an emergency is happening. It is just notifying you that there's a elevated chance that it could. And the most important notification you will receive is the dispatch activation. So while we have separate notifications for kind of the test, audits, and then emergencies for the advance notice, there's only one communication you will receive if an actual dispatch occurs. So when you receive this, you know exactly what to do. And this communication will come through email, phone, and text message, just to make sure that you receive it, and you will be, again, required to confirm that you've received the message. This will come in typically 2 hours before a dispatch is going to start. And when that does come in, you should review your energy reduction plan and prepare for dispatch. So when you receive that DR activation, you will begin to implement your energy reduction plan and respond to the event and remain curtailed or shift your load to a generator for the duration until you receive a notice that the dispatch is over. And when you receive that notice that the dispatch is over, you can then restore to your normal operations and your normal levels. I did want to touch on one very helpful tip in how you can maximize your performance and thus maximize your payment. And this is related to baselines and how to manage your baseline. So the baseline is the primary component by which your demand reduction is measured against to calculate your performance during an event. It's essentially saying this is what your energy load would have been running at if you had not curtailed. And to optimize this baseline, it's very crucial that you do not begin your energy reduction plan until 1 hour ahead of that dispatch start. So you'll get that dispatch notice 2 hours ahead, but it's important you don't actually implement and start that energy reduction plan until 1 hour ahead of that dispatch start. And this will help avoid any downward adjustments during a baseline adjustment window. So there's a window ahead of the event, as highlighted on this timeline at the bottom of the slide, that your energy reduction can adjust that baseline either up or down. So we want to make sure that we're not negatively impacting that baseline adjustment, and that you're getting full credit for your curtailment, and you can do so by only starting an hour ahead of the dispatch start. And I want to pivot a little now that we've reviewed all of kind of the program basics and how to really succeed in the program, and talk about some of the higher level trends that we're seeing in Ontario and give some background. So if you participated in the summer 2023 season, you might have noticed that we saw a lot of emergency activations. And in fact, we saw the most emergency dispatches on record since the program began. This was actually the first time we had an emergency activation since 2020. So you might be wondering what is causing that, kind of what are the underlying factors. One of the primary factors is that Ontario has had relatively stable and kind of consistent electricity demand, but we're seeing that shift. So looking forward, as demonstrated by this graph on the right from the ISO, that this peak seasonal demand is really expected to grow pretty significantly over the next several years, and that's due to both economic growth, the new businesses coming in, as well as electrification of things like heating and electric vehicles. And with this increased demand, as Zach alluded to earlier, those peak days in which demand response is so critical, might become even more pronounced and more common. That combined with the deficit of supply to meet this demand really creates more of these emergency dispatch scenarios. So the ISO is working to ensure they have, sufficient supply to meet these growing demand needs, and that does include the growth of the demand response resource to make up for these deficits. And then, coupled on top of that, just more extreme weather events, more prolonged heat waves, things like that also put strain on the grid. So a lot of, the emergencies we see are pretty weather dependent as well. So that's the reason why we saw more activations and why there is, more of a likelihood moving forward that emergency activations can occur, but it does not, guarantee that we'll see them this summer. The next trend I really wanted to highlight is just the, really positive trend we've seen in pricing. So program pricing for this coming 2024-25 year is the highest level that we've seen in 5 years. And this steady increase in pricing really creates the most favorable earnings for your participation. And partially this is a result of kind of the factors that I just mentioned and the need that the ISO has to procure more capacity. But it really creates an opportunity for you to maximize those earnings and get the most bang for your buck when curtailing. And I think while we have an addition of a new test this coming year, for this coming summer, it does provide a more predictable event in which you can maximize your performance to make sure you're capturing the full value of our pricing this season for the 2024 year. And then finally, if we do have more emergency events, while it is more events, it does give opportunity to earn lucrative energy payments for the curtailment that you provide during those times. So just a few different ways to really maximize the value of your participation here. And now I'm going to pass it over to Zach, and he'll kind of run through some of the additional opportunities that your organization can take just to take advantage of decarbonization goals, increase your earning potential, and see how you could either save on or reduce your energy costs.
Thanks, Allison. So to start off, it's important to acknowledge that every organization is at a different place in their energy journey. Understanding where you are and what goals you have is a key factor in getting things started. So today, by only participating in DR, you likely just fit into bucket C here of looking to lower costs and become more resilient. Meeting 2 of these 3 challenges can be easy, but in order to meet all 3, working with the right partner is very important. We believe that to fully achieve the energy transition and for customers to realize the greatest amount of value, we'll need to strike the right balance between sustainability, resilience, and cost lowering in all the work that we do. So here are a few ideas that can help you deepen your resiliency lower your costs further through DR, and also a few additional products you can consider to achieve that trifecta. So one of the most impactful ways to reduce energy costs in Ontario, as many of you know, is to mitigate the global adjustment charges through participation in the Industrial Conservation Initiative, or ICI program. To do so, by reducing energy usage in top peak demand hours of the year, we are happy to continue to offer best-in-class peak prediction services through our partnership with Workbench Energy. Through this partnership, Enel offers accurate and detailed peak prediction services, including monthly, weekly, and day-ahead reporting to help you anticipate peaks and plan operations accordingly. Dynamic dashboards in the Workbench platform help you monitor real-time conditions, and this is made seamlessly integrated with the DR and peak prediction services. For those that are enrolled in our services already, keep an eye out for an email from Workbench. They will be hosting a webinar towards the beginning of the summer season. And for those who are interested, please do reach out. One of the more recent projects we're also excited to now offer is in the building management upgrade space, or upgrades to your building management scripts and BMS systems. What this project entails is Enel deploying capital funds for BMS upgrades or installation at your facility to either help improve your current demand response target enrollments or increase your enrollment targets and the revenue you receive in the program. We're currently working with our partner Honeywell to employ these changes. So if you are interested in such an upgrade, please let us know. The upfront costs deployed by Enel are offset against your demand response earnings, which are generally offset in less than 2 years. After that offset payment is complete, you'll then have a state-of-the-art BMS system to use as you see fit. One more thing just to close out the webinar, we want to provide some final tips on how to best prepare for a successful DR season. Please reach out, contact us if you've recently had any significant operational changes. These can impact how you participate in DR, how successful you are, and we want to make sure you folks are as prepared as possible and also nominated accordingly based on your facility's ability. Secondly, just a reminder to please go in and confirm your site and contact information in the My Account page at apps.enelx.com. If you ever have any issues with logging in, you need an account created, you have new site contacts that need an account, you can then go to number 3 here and reach us anytime through our support number or email. They are wonderful and will happily help you guys set up anything you need, both online on the application or anything else demand response related. Outside of that, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this webinar, and best of luck this summer season.